everybody, and welcome to the next episode of True Crime Reacts. Today we're going to be looking at Arizona V Arias, who I deem the Mormon Murderer. Now, I'm going to go into a brief overview of everything, like I did in the last episode, and then we'll get into watching testimony. And this is an amusing case, you guys. She definitely got put away. Alright, so Jodi Arias is an American woman convicted for the murder of her 30-year-old ex-boyfriend, Travis Alexander. This happened in 2008. June 4th of 2008 is when she killed him. She was baptized as a Latter-day Saint in 2006. She moved to Mesa, Arizona with Alexander and dated for quite a while, like a year and a half maybe, before they eventually broke up. She moved back to California, but they remained in a casual relationship, which is never a good idea. In June 2008, she killed Alexander in his home in Mesa, Arizona, which later she testified to as self-defense, but not before spinning this whole story of, these two gangsters coming in the house and beating them up. One was a man, one was a woman. She held the gun to her head. She should have fought more, etc., etc. Once she realized that there were bloody palm prints all over the house, and they were hers. So when she realized that that lie wouldn't work, she switched to, it was self-defense. It's not self-defense. She stabbed this man 27 times, slit his throat from ear to ear, and shot him in the head. That's not self-defense. No. I don't even know how she thought anybody was going to believe that this was self-defense. Makes no sense to me. She was arrested in July of 2008, so about a month later, with charges of shooting and stabbing Alexander. Following around 4 months of trial, that commenced in December of 2012, so it took 4 years for them to start the trial. She was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in state prison without parole in April of 2015. I don't understand, and we'll hear her interview moments after she heard the sentencing and the verdict, and I don't know what planet she's living on to think that there's no way a jury would convict her. Early life of Jodi Arias, because normally with killers, they usually have, some trauma of sorts in their childhood. She claims abuse. She said that her parents used to beat her with a belt and wooden spoons. I don't know. Some parents discipline their children with wooden spoons or sandals. I don't know. She attended high school. She dropped out in 11th grade. She got her GED, so she was trying at least. She worked several part-time photography jobs. She took server jobs. Then she started dating this man named Daryl Brewer in 2003, and they bought a house together in California's Palm Desert and decided to pay $2,800 per month as a mortgage payment. It's nuts to me. That's crazy. But she started not fulfilling her payments, and so he eventually left, because who wants to be roommates with somebody who doesn't pay their rent? So she started working for this place called Prepaid Legal Services. I think it's known as a different name now. I have no idea what it is. And that is where she met Travis Alexander. He was a salesman and a motivational speaker for Prepaid Legal Services. And so that's how they met. And at that point, she was a blonde. That will come. That'll be important later. So in 2007, she shifted from California to Mesa with Travis Alexander. They ended their relationship in June of that year. but again, still maintained a very casual sexual relationship. Alexander accused Arias of stalking him, including sending him photos of the women that he was dating and threatening emails, saying that if they, if he saw her again, then, she'd come to his house, etc., etc. In spite of these threatening emails, they still maintained a sexual relationship and traveled together in March of 2008. So now we're getting to the murder part of Travis Alexander. On June 4th of 2008, Alexander was murdered, and because he missed a very vital meeting and did not turn up for a scheduled trip to Cancun, Mexico, which we will hear about later in a voicemail that she left him, his friends became worried, and they went to go and check his house. They found him stabbed 27 times, throat slit, and shot in the head, laying dead in his shower. That was June 9th of 2008. So that was 5 days after he was killed. I don't get this one. They were able to collect a digital camera that was found in the washing machine. Now, the thing about this camera is that they would frequently take pictures of each other in lewd and suggestive context. And that camera had photos on it, and this was the last photo of Travis Alexander alive. This was taken moments before Jodi Arias killed him in the shower, which is very sad. Like, so, there are some people that believe that this look in his eyes right there, that, like, he knew what she was gonna do because she's that narcissistic to want to watch him struggle and be like, no, and beg. Obviously, that's all speculation because there's no proof of that, but a lot of people say that he knew going into it, and that's why he has that face. Now, this is an illustration of the injuries that he had. He had stab wounds on the back of his neck here and here, all the way down his spine, pretty much. His hands had been cut, like, along, like, the veins and stuff in your hands. He was stabbed in the chest, in the back of the head, the gunshot wound to the forehead, which is right over there. Yes, and she's claiming self-defense, you guys. This is just... Now, however, through this, I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm really not. Because he was a horrible man. He was known to be a player, to collect women. He's part of a cult. And he was into some really bad stuff that they found out once they went through his computer. They were able to retrieve the stuff that was deleted off the computer. And analysts were able to see that it wasn't like a glitch or anything that erased the photos. Somebody went in and deleted it. Which is really crazy to me. One, that after murdering her boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, I don't know, casual partner at that time, that she went and deleted stuff off of his computer. And she claimed that she deleted this specific thing that I will tell you in just a minute, because she wanted to preserve how he was remembered. That she didn't want his family to get a bad impression, or the Mormon church to get a bad impression, because he's the one that brought her to Mormonism. Like that was the Mormon church in South Carolina, or South California, that she was baptized at. And it's just, don't join cults, you guys. It's not good. But the images images and content on the computer was like child porn. It was highly illegal stuff involving children, regular, like, all sorts of stuff. And she claimed that she deleted it because she didn't want him to have bad press. I don't know, because she went on stand and started calling him a pedophile and a sexual abuser and all this stuff. So I don't really think that his image was really what she was trying to do there. I think that that was cover, and she deleted that too so that she could delete the photos that were on the computer. So about the camera specifically, so they like to take pictures of each other, and that was the last photo on that camera. And it was found, if you remember from a little bit earlier, it was found in a washing machine. Which means that somebody put it there. It didn't just appear in a washing machine. And so what she had tried to do is she tried to ruin the SD card, so that they couldn't pull these pictures off and see that she was there, because there were pictures of her on there prior to this one. The bathroom hallway also contained a bloody palm print. The lab test of the print showed that it contained DNA of both Arias and Alexander. So the blood was Alexander's and Arias's was the palm print. And her skin. So, and she's gonna claim that, like, her print was, like, already on the wall, and that the blood just filled it in, which, like, forensically makes no sense at all. But man, she tries. Like, I was watching the interrogation footage. It was over 8 hours of interrogation footage. Obviously, we're not going to watch all of that now. But it's just, man, she likes to craft a story. That's for sure. Multiple different stories. Because in the court, she was like, oh, it's all self-defense. But when she was talking with the cops and everything, she was like, I need to see the pictures. I need to see the pictures. Because she was trying to align her story with what they had found, and they refused to give that to her. She eventually did admit to killing Alexander only after 2 years of her arrest, citing self-defense as the cause, and claimed to have endured domestic violence. Now, obviously, he's a terrible man. He's not a good man. And he had been known to get physical with the people that he was dating. However, it's really hard for me to believe that he was being physically abusive in this instance, because of what she did after. And what she did was she called him. She left. Like, this is after she knows that he's dead, because she's the one that killed him. She called him on, this was like maybe a day or two after, and leaves a voicemail. And then she sends a text a couple days later saying, hey, I really need to know when you're going to cash that check. So she's crafting a story to try and get out of it, and she's trying to say that she didn't, and, like, the closing argument is actually very similar to the Groves argument, the Groves actually and the Halderson argument, where it's like, we know that, she's a liar, but, like, does that really matter, though? Like, does it matter that she lied about all this? The answer is yes. But, I mean, I can't really fault them. I believe that they were, like, chosen for the case. I don't think that they came in and were like, yeah, we want to, defend her when there's all this evidence against her. I think that that was just what was chosen for them. So, we're going to jump in here, and we're going to watch the first interrogation video that we'll be watching. We're going to watch probably 6 to 10 minutes of this, because it's pretty important, and then we'll move on.
And the camera actually took a couple of photos by accident during the time that he was being killed.
Really?
Yeah, Jodi, really. You were there. Quit playing this game. It's time for you to just come out and
I didn't
tell
know.
me.
I did not hurt Travis. I did not hurt Travis. I wouldn't do that to him.
We have the pictures.
Can I see the pictures?
We have your blood at the scene. hair with blood at the scene. Your left palm print at the scene, in blood. What's going on there?
Well, I can explain the blood and the hair. I don't know about my left palm print.
How can you explain the blood in there?
Well, because I used to bathe Napoleon all the time. And,
You haven't been there since April, right?
mm-hmm. Well,
He's had the house cleaned several times since then. And this hair was not just a hair, you know, from the shower or something. This hair was stuck with blood and obviously had blood on it. At the time it got stuck where it ended up.
my
there's
hair would
no
have been
way.
all over.
There's no other hair.
Can you
that
take?
was-
Can you take a hair sample? And
We
like,
have your DNA.
no, but I mean, like, you know how they could do drug tests and find out when things were done?
No,
Can you?
We can't do that.
Can't you measure the time?
We
maybe?
have DNA matching that hair to you.
Okay, I know, but my
And that hair had a follicle on it, and that means that that hair wasn't there very long. The follicle will usually dissipate and go away after a certain time. It'll fall off, the hair itself.
well, when I would
Okay,
brush my hair
Jodi.
there, I mean,
This one absolutely cannot explain that away. You either had blood on your hand and you touched the wall, or there was blood on the wall and you touched the blood.
could my palm print have already been there and then I touched it?
Jodi, this is over. This is absolutely over. You need to tell me the truth.
Listen, the truth is I did not hurt Travis. Okay, so we're
Jodi.
saying,
The truth is that she didn't hurt Travis, but also admits on stand that she's dead. Or that she killed him, so I don't know how that works.
You can continue to do this, okay? A records check shows you that you guys reported a gun stolen. 25 auto. Just happens to be the same caliber as the weapon used to kill him.
a 25 auto was used to kill Travis.
Yeah, along with multiple stab wounds. Jodi, if you want, I can show you some pictures of him. Do you want to see pictures of him?
Part of me does and part of me doesn't.
Why? Because you don't want to remember?
No, I just,
Jodi.
there's a morbid curiosity.
Jodi,
I wanted to know how he died.
we can keep playing these games.
That part, like, I understand it a little bit. Like, I mean, why do I do this channel? Because I have a morbid curiosity of, one, how these trials are conducted, two, the inner workings of the person that's on trial, especially when it comes to murder trials. So that is a morbid curiosity. However, if I was in her position, knowing full well that I had killed somebody, my morbid curiosity would not be, oh, I want to look at those pictures. Why she's doing this here and why she wants to see them is because she needs to fabricate a story. And how can you fabricate a story when you don't know exactly what they have? All that she knows right now is that she committed this crime and the cops are calling her out. But she doesn't know what the cops know. She doesn't... She knows little pieces of evidence. Yes, like the bloody palm print and her hair being there. But she thinks at this point that she can get away with that. She doesn't know... She doesn't realize how 100% screwed she is here.
Over and over again, I'm not going to believe you.
All
When
right.
you start telling me the
Listen.
truth, then I can believe you. But I can't deny this evidence. I can't. The trip you took doesn't make sense. The opportunity was there. Your pictures on that date with him, Your blood is in the house, mixed with his. Mixed. Not alongside, but mixed. Your hair is there with blood. And your palm print is there in blood. It's over.
Could it have been my blood from before?
Your image is not important right now. Saving the rest of your life is.
Listen, if I'm found guilty, I don't have a life. I'm not guilty. I didn't hurt Travis. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty.
Was there anybody else with you?
At this point, she knows full well that she hurt Travis. Where's the begging? I'm ready. I'm ready to hear it.
I was traveling alone the whole time.
Was there anybody else with you at Travis's house on Wednesday the 4th?
I was not at Travis's house on Wednesday.
You were? Because that's when the blood was left.
A little bit of an explanation. The trip that he's talking about here is, so the murder happened on the 4th of June, right? She went on a trip before that, either before or after that, where she rented a car, and we'll hear a little bit about that in the defense closing statement, which, if I'm being completely honest, is lackluster. She took a trip. She went and she saw her friends. It was before, on the 3rd, and then she went to Travis's house to kill him on the 4th. So it makes like no sense why she took this trip at all. The timing of like her getting the rental car and everything is just really mismatched and makes no logical sense. So I guess we will see. We'll see where she tries to take this.
The bloody palm print was left on his wall. I don't know what to tell you. If you were in my shoes and I had this evidence against you, what would you say?
If I had that evidence against you, it'd be pretty obvious. But I guess being in my position, it just seems so impossible. I'd want to see it. I'd want to know. I mean, I'm not a murderer, but I guess if I were to do that, I would wear gloves or, something. How could I don't know.
I know you tried to wash him off. Try to get some of the blood off. Try to clean him up a little bit. But you're even denying the pictures of you being there. There's pictures of you laying on the bed in pigtails.
Pigtails?
Yes. And I've got pictures of you that I've blown up, and you've got the little mole right there. It's the same one. It's you. It's obvious. I can show you some of these pictures. Do you want to see the pictures? Will that change your mind?
I mean, I am.
The cop's patience here is just amazing. Like, I have so much respect for this man, because if I was in the room with her and listening to her talk circles and act dumb, oh my gosh, it would push me over the edge. I don't like dealing with people who act like they're less intelligent than they are and act like they don't know exactly what I'm talking about. Drives me crazy. So much respect for the cop here. And as we'll see in the second part of the interview, the female, I don't know if she's a cop. She might be more of like a psychologist of sorts. I don't really know. But you'll see what I mean when we get to hers.
I'm curious.
Okay, let me take a break and let me go find him. And I'll bring him and show you.
I wasn't there.
But you need to think about what you're saying. This continuing to lie is not going to help you.
Admitting to something I didn't do won't help me either. Okay, let's say for a second that I did. And I say, I did it. I mean...
The motive is there. The jealousy issue.
But I wouldn't even say it was jealous. I mean, there may have been some jealousy there, but...
Then what is it? What caused this?
I think if anyone, maybe Travis was jealous, but...
That's not what everybody else says. Well, they know he was jealous, but they think that you are absolutely obsessed. Obsessed is the word that they use. That's the word I hear from everybody. Fatal attraction. I don't know how many times I've heard that. Look at Jodi. Jodi had to have done this, or she got someone to do it for her. There's not one person that says anything else. Why is that? That's the perception they have of you. And there's a reason for that perception. Maybe because it's true.
Maybe because we kept hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
But not because it's true.
Cause this. I can prove you were there. I can prove it. But what I don't have is I don't have answers on why it happened. Or, maybe something just got out of hand. Maybe things got out of hand.
Did you find the gun? Maybe that would...
Jodi, we're just playing games here. That gun was in your possession. When did you report it stolen?
I didn't even know that there were guns until my grandparents reported it stolen the day that their house was broken into.
When was that?
I don't remember. It was a few months ago, maybe.
She also claims to have a lot of memory gaps as well. She'll also claim that she has, no anger issues in the slightest. She was diagnosed with... What's on this one? She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And she said that, she had inappropriate anger, feelings of emptiness, suicidal thoughts. Now, I want to insert this little thing right here. Those symptoms, if you will, those did not start happening for her, she claims, until she joined the Mormon church and started following them more closely. And then, she started dealing with depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts and all this stuff. And when I was reading that, I was like, well, maybe it's because you're in a cult. But, just follow Jesus. You'll be fine. The real version, not some Mormonized version. But she was diagnosed, this is this part's a little less official, with narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar, sociopathic tendencies, and was labeled a pathological liar in the course of this trial, which, I mean, she earned it because she's a horrible woman and she lies all the time. I'd be more inclined to believe her if she had been truthful about, one thing so far, other than, oh, this is what I had for lunch the day that I killed him. So, I would be more willing to extend grace if she actually told the truth. But she doesn't, so makes it a lot harder to believe her when she speaks. What is she doing?
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God! What is that?
holy night. The stars are brightly shining. This is the day of our dear Savior's birth.
I mean, it's a great song, but like, she's being like super creepy right now. That's all I'm gonna say. She has some of the weirdest behavior, like when people aren't in the room, that I've seen while reviewing cases. It's crazy to me.
This is downright proof. But there's no backstory to it. All I know is that I need a story or else it's just cold. It's so cold. You don't look like the person that would plan something like this. You're just not that person. I can believe other things, but not that. But without the truth, I can't paint another picture. And it's going to be up to the prosecutor to paint that picture. And if you want that prosecutor, and I've met him, and you don't want him painting that picture, because he is good at what he does. I've worked with him before. And you allow him to paint that picture for you, it's not going to be good.
It looks like you don't really need anything. It just looks like, it looks like you don't even need a good prosecutor anyway. So, I mean,
You're right.
I have to maintain my innocence. I can't admit to doing something that I haven't done.
I'm asking if you acknowledge that it would be you that did it, correct?
Yes. And I helped her, just take pictures, and then I dropped her off, and she just wanted some of those to have. She's all done up glamorous, and she's like, I can't remember what I look like without makeup. And I did a photo shoot with my little brother last week, and
Well, see, these are the sorts of things that, paint the picture of a good, decent person where things just went a little wrong. You showing so much concern and care.
Do you know what happened to my journals, too?
I wasn't there when
I know they said they took one. I don't know if they took my other ones.
Where were your other ones at?
In my fireproof safe.
Okay. I'm not sure. They have a hard copy, an actual copy, an original copy.
The journals that she's talking about here are kind of important, actually, because that's what they used to prove that it was premeditated. Because she wrote like a month prior to when she killed him, I'm gonna miss you when you're gone, Travis, but know that it's out of love and, to keep us together, whatever. It was nuts. But that's part of where they got the premeditation from. Also from the amount of excuses and parameters that she set up after she killed him to throw police off.
If you want my journals, it documents the entire time starting from when I moved to Arizona up until 2 or 3 days ago.
Where's that safe at? Is that
It's
at your...
under my bed. They said they looked through it.
Okay. Well, then, if there was anything...
I don't know if they felt it was relevant,
necessary.
but...
I'm
sure Travis got a lot of ink in my journals. I don't know. It doesn't matter now because I know you guys think what you think, but...
It's not, the job of the detectives, any detective, is to determine, what happened, whether a person, is there evidence that would clear you, evidence that would convict you, etc. We're totally neutral going in. And it's not a matter of, our opinion and what we think. It's a matter of taking a look at all of the evidence and knowing. And, I think you're not grasping the reality of this situation. and hearing, what your concerns are, you should be concerned for yourself right now. You should be fighting for yourself. This is not going to go away anytime soon for you, Jodi. You're a young woman, just starting your life. You had a lot going for you. You should be fighting for yourself right now.
There's really nothing to fight for. If I fight, it just makes me look worse.
If you fight,
and if I give you some false confession, that just makes it look just as bad.
No,
so
we
there's
don't.
Really nothing.
We don't want a false confession. That's absolutely not what anybody ever wants. I'm hoping to give you the opportunity to show the world, to show the community, to show the jury, to show Travis's family that you do have a heart, that you do care, that you are a good person. And maybe things went askew that day. I'm giving you scenarios with what happened that day because I wasn't there. I don't know, the emotions that led up to it. There was obviously a lot of emotion. That's very clear. There was a lot of emotion that day. The charade, which isn't going to get you anywhere, or whether you want to do the right thing.
She's definitely right about the passion killing part, because the amount of times that he was stabbed and things like that, that's not self-defense. And I said that earlier. That was very much on purpose.
You're the one that's got to live with yourself, You're the one that's got to look those people in the eye.
I have one more question. It's not that I haven't been listening to what you're saying. It's unrelated. But when I took my purse, I had $240 in cash. And from what I understand, this thing over in the jail, you can have money on your books so that you can get things like shampoo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would even need there. But what happened?
Why is she so concerned about her money and her stuff and her material things, and not about the fact that she killed somebody? I don't know. The last thing on my mind would be, my family racking up collect calls because I've been sitting in jail.
Been listening to what you're saying. It's unrelated. But when I took my purse, I had $240 in cash. And from what I understand, this thing over in the jail, you can have money on your books so that you can get things like shampoo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would even need there. But what happens to my cash, my money?
Well, it's, first of all, they count it all out and document it, so there's no question of.
She just does such weird things when there's not somebody in the interrogation room with her. I mean, the handstands, she's hiding under the table here, I mean, I don't even know what I would do in that situation, but I definitely would not be doing handstands. But to each their own, I guess.
Jodi, I'm really confused. Maybe I did have a wrong picture of you. All of this time that you and I have been talking, and I got information from your other interview, you are talking about insignificant things at this point. You're talking about money, you're talking about material things, you're talking about everything but.
I'm just talking
You're talking about
things that
just
affect the people I care about.
You're talking about everything but how bad you feel about Travis. You only respond to my questions.
If I murdered
specifically
Travis, I
about
would be
Travis.
very remorseful.
I think that I've gotten the wrong picture of you. I think that, maybe I was wrong. Maybe you are that cold-blooded person that they're trying to portray. And, I'm just really confused. At this point, maybe you're right. Maybe there isn't anything that you can do to help yourself. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you're not as intelligent as I thought you were. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you're not as intelligent as I thought you were.
Not holding back. Like, she took that break, brought her some water, and just started, like, going for it. And that's what I think, that this woman is amazing. She does a very good job at questioning her.
Maybe I was wrong. What do you think should happen to the person that murdered Travis?
I've never been one for an eye for an eye, but they took his life, and even the Book of Mormon says that that calls for the life of the person that took his life.
Do you think that's the path that you're going down right now, and it's inevitable, so why fight it?
So we know that you took it, right?
I don't remember having the knife at all afterward.
But there was no knife up there, right?
I haven't heard any testimony about that. So I would
You would acknowledge, ma'am, that Exhibit 193, that Mr. Alexander was stabbed. You would acknowledge that, right?
Yes.
And you would acknowledge that that stabbing was with the knife, right? According to your version of events, you would acknowledge that that stabbing was after the shooting, according to you, right?
I don't remember.
I'm not asking you if you remember, ma'am. I'm asking if you acknowledge that it would be you that did it, correct?
Yes.
And you would acknowledge that a lot of the stab wounds, and if you want, we can count them together, including the ones to the head, were to the back of the head and to the back of the torso, correct?
Okay.
Well, no, I don't
count them. I don't know. I'll just take your word for it.
Would you like to take a look at the photograph?
No.
So if he... Would you acknowledge at that point that he's no threat to you, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
I don't know.
Well, if he's already been shot, according to you, and he's facing away from you, how could he possibly be any threat to you?
I could only guess. I don't know what you're asking me.
Well, with regard to the... You were here when the medical examiner testified about the wound to the throat. Do you remember that?
Yes.
With regard to that wound, ma'am, you would acknowledge that that was, in terms of the stab wounds, you would acknowledge that that was the last wound in the sequence of events.
Objection, she says she doesn't remember. Yeah.
Overruled. That
How
wasn't
can
the,
she acknowledge the sequence of the stabs that she doesn't know doesn't have any memory of them?
that wasn't the question. Overruled. You may answer the question.
Are you talking about his testimony?
Yes.
I disagree with the sequence of events.
This is one of the things that I don't really understand. And, like, I understand why Martinez brings it up. about the sequence of events because he's showing exactly how untrustworthy her recollection of the events is because of her memory gaps. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the order of the injuries, because if he was shot in the head, he would have been dead fairly instantly. 27 stab wounds. I mean, I don't know if there was a sign of like a struggle or like him moving into the knife or anything like that. But there, even after 27 stab wounds, there would be no need to shoot him or slit his throat. So, I mean, if you slit somebody's throat, they're dead in a couple minutes. So, no matter which way or however the sequence of events actually happened, it doesn't really matter, because from isolating each one of those injuries, 27 stab wounds being a group, they'd be dead after any one of them anyway. So it was just overkill. And I guess that's what he's saying here.
Would you agree that you're the person who actually slit Mr. Alexander's throat from ear to ear?
Yes.
Would you also agree?
But this woman says that she never hurt him. I mean, we just saw that in the interrogation footage. She says, I would never hurt him. If I had really killed him, I'd feel remorse. Well, obviously you really killed him, because you're sitting here on stand saying that you were the one that slit his throat from ear to ear. So, good for you for telling the truth, I guess, is what we should tell you, according to your defense team. Alright, so we're going to jump ahead here to the voicemail, actually, that she left, and they actually play that clip.
Not immediately. That was the point, yes.
Right, you wanted the police to look elsewhere, right?
I guess.
Well, no, you made the call knowing the reason why you made the call, right?
Yes.
If you really weren't wanting to fabricate evidence, you would have just left whatever message instead of worrying about crying or whatever it was that you were worried about, right?
That's right.
And so you called Mr. Alexander and you left him a message, right?
Yes.
Just play it and hear what you said. This is exhibit number 365.
I know Leslie called you, so I already talked to her, so you can call her back if you want, but it's not necessary. My phone died, so I wasn't getting back to anybody. And what else? Oh, and I drove 100 miles in the wrong direction, over 100 miles, thank you very much. So yeah, remember New Mexico? It was a lot like that, only you weren't here to prevent me from going into the 3 digits, so fun. Tell you all about that later. Also, we were talking about, when we were talking about your upcoming travels my way, I was looking at the May calendar, so I'm all confused. But Heather and I are going to see Othello on July 1st, and we would love for you to accompany us. I don't know when Team Freedom's event is, though, but, it's on the list, so we could do Shakespeare, Crater Lake, and the coast. So if you can make it. If not, we'll just do the coast in Crater Lake. But let me know, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
That's you, correct?
Correct.
And that's you lying on the message, right?
Yes.
You're telling or leaving the message for Mr. Alexander indicating that you got lost, fun, right?
Yes.
That's not true, right?
That's not true.
Asking him or talking to him about coming up to visit you up in Wairika and doing some of the things that you mentioned, that's not true also, right?
No, that was our plan before June 4th.
That was the plan before June 4th, but you're talking to him or leaving the message for him indicating that, you're sorry you couldn't stop by, but you guys can make up for it up in when he comes up to visit you, right?
Yes.
That's a lie.
Yes.
And all of these lies, ma'am, are meant for your benefit so that you can escape responsibility.
I don't see how that's to my benefit, but I don't know what you mean by benefit, but yeah, so I could escape whatever for the time being.
Well, now that you keep saying for the time being, you would have been happy to avoid the consequences for a lifetime, wouldn't have you?
I can't say I would be happy, but I
You would
don't
have
know.
preferred that, though, right?
Objection relevance.
I don't know how to answer that.
Well, you didn't go to the police with any of your information ever until they contacted you, right?
I think I initiated the contact.
Oh, so you're saying when you called the police, you told them the truth?
No, I'm not saying that.
You would have been satisfied to avoid any responsibility for the killing of Mr. Alexander, wouldn't you?
I don't know if satisfied is the word, probably relieved for the time being.
Okay? You would have been relieved to avoid any consequences for the killing of Mr. Alexander, correct?
That was my goal
Right.
that day.
And that's why you...
I don't know why she answers questions like that. I really don't. It makes no sense to me. Because she's like... She answers them. But it takes forever to like get an actual honest answer out of her. And maybe honest is a little too generous because she's a known liar throughout this whole thing.
Hours away from the 1658. What we're really talking, and the 7 hours from 1658, what we're really talking about is what, 9:58 in the morning, is that correct?
Yes.
This is while you were still on the road, right? Home, correct?
Yes, I believe it was.
And what you read,
1658, wouldn't that be like 4:58? Because that's the military time. So I think they got that mixed up because he said 9 a.m.
to us what the message is that you left for Mr. Alexander.
Now, this message was left 2 days after she killed him. Yeah, because she killed him on June 4th. And she was like, you know what I'm going to do? You know what would be just a brilliant idea? Is if we called him and left a voicemail and then left another message a day later and was like, hey, when are you going to deposit that check that I gave you? Because that'll establish, an alibi, if you will. Which is like, that's not what an alibi is, but...
Hey, I need to know when you're going to deposit that check.
And you were referring to the check involving the car, right?
Yes.
The check that you know was uncashed in his desk in his office, right?
I didn't know where it was, but I figured it wasn't cashed.
Now, in fact, there was a conversation that you had with the detective where you talked to him about the uncashed check, correct?
Yes.
So you knew it was uncashed, correct?
By the time it hadn't cleared whenever I talked to him, I knew it was uncashed.
But another thing that you knew on this date is that Mr. Alexander was dead, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I
And
did.
you did that again so that you could cover up.
Did you guys hear her response? Yeah, I think I did. No, she knew it because she responds a lot with I think so or I don't remember, and I think I believe that she thinks that that's like going to get her out of it or get sympathy from the jury because she has memory problems, and I'm sorry, that's not going to work. If I was on this jury, hearing her say the amount that she doesn't remember, I would be incredibly suspicious. Honestly, it makes it worse for her that she can't remember so much of what's going on. Plus, adding on top of that her interrogation footage and her lying through that whole thing, it just puts her in a very bad spot. And
You did not want to be faced with whatever consequences were involved, right?
I was afraid of the consequences.
And because you were afraid, that was a good enough excuse for you to send something like that.
Restate.
The reason that you gave to us that you were afraid, in your mind, even though the fog had lifted, or there was a fog that was involved, you felt that it was okay to send this message.
I didn't feel it was okay. It's not like that. So I guess that would be no.
Well, then why are you sending it? Are you sending it so that it can reach him in the grave, or what?
No.
Juan Martinez is spicy, man. He goes for it. He's an aggressive prosecutor. He does a very good job. One of the things about him, though, is that he was actually disbarred in 2020. Because I believe it was during this trial, he was in a relationship with somebody in the news and leaked information about this case to the press. And so obviously that's not okay. And so he got disbarred in 2020.
You're sending it so that, as you previously said, involving the telephone calls, so you won't have to face the consequences of what you did, right?
Yes.
Just like the scene, you're trying to manipulate the evidence, right?
Yes.
Take a look at another exhibit. You're sending it to him even though you know he's dead, right? It's a way to stage the scene, right?
I think so, yeah. That was my goal, I think.
I didn't hear you.
That was my
Goal, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you start with "Hey you" and read to us what it says.
Hey you, I haven't heard back
A
from
little
you.
bit louder.
The fact that it was sent is enough.
Hey you, I haven't heard back from you. I hope you're not still upset that I didn't come to see you.
What? You killed him?
I just didn't have enough time off. It's okay, sweetie. You're going to be here in less than 2 weeks. We're going to see the sights.
You also write, check things off the list, and all kinds of fun things.
I don't know how she was like, oh, they're not going to get me on premeditation. Because everything she did after just proved that she wanted to cover it up. And everything she did prior, and especially wrote in those journals, it's just more and more and more proof that she had this planned out.
1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty. 5 jurors find premeditated. 0 find felony murder. 7 find both premeditated and felony. Signed, foreperson. Is this your true verdict? So say you want it all?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Arizona versus Jodi Arias, verdict, count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty. 5.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
But what does she do? She says, not just that she was there, but she makes herself the hero. Just switching it up. Not only does she say that she was there, but she makes herself the hero in the sense that she pushes the woman down. And he has the gun pointed to her head, and you know, by luck is not killed. But she's able to push people aside, and then she wraps it up by saying, "But oh, you know, I wish I could have stayed there. I should have fought more. I did fight, but I should have fought more." And then away I went. Again, trying to paint herself, not only that she was there, but again that she was this hero, attempting to not only tell a different story, but to manipulate that story to make her look better. Years go by, and then we have the story that we have now. This non-stop litany of lies by the defendant just does not stop. She has lied to various groups of people. She has lied, as we said, to you. She has lied to the medical health care professionals. She's lied to the police. And she's even lied to the media, something that she has craved. This individual here craves the media, loves the media, went on national television to talk about this. And what did she do? Not only did she lie to them, but she made herself seem like such a calm person. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Didn't tell any of the things that we see here today. And of course, it's not a confessional when you go there, but it is demonstrative of the fact that she's a chameleon, and she'll adjust to the situation and make up whatever stories are appropriate for her at the time, whether it be the media or somebody else. It really is. And if you can say, for example, oh, this was, she presented it as if it was in self-defense, but not only did she present it as if it were in self-defense, she added some ornate lies to it. For example, one of the things that she added was this physical violence that supposedly Mr. Alexander inflicted upon her. But she doesn't just say that he inflicted these 4 incidents of violence. She goes into great detail about it. For example, she talks about the one in August of 2007 where he goes upstairs and he's banging his head up against the wall, just very flowery, very out there, because then she's again the center of attention. She's being the calm one. She's being the person that is the individual that you would look to for the answers. It's not just the lies. She's a very good liar, but she, on top of that, is a very sophisticated liar in the sense that she adds these extra elements to it. And she did that with regard to the acts of domestic violence. And they are lies. If we are to look at her journals and sit back and take a look at what she writes, those journals tell you that there were no acts of domestic violence. Have you been given any reason whatsoever, other than this law of attraction, and other than another Alice Laviolette, somebody who has trouble with the truth, other than that, vouching for them, do you have any reason to doubt what is being written there? Do you have anything that the defendant has said that has corroborated in terms of the domestic violence? You have the journal entries indicating that they did not happen.
I think that one of the reasons that he's focusing so much on the journal is because in her interrogations, it was definitely a focus of hers, almost like Halderson and, the Swiffer and the hydrogen peroxide. She hyper-focused on her journals because she was like, they'll tell the truth. I wrote all, my deepest thoughts in there. And 1, that's how I figured out it was premeditated. And 2, that's how we know that there was no physical violence. Because if that book was supposed to prove that, everything was true, it would have had, some, at least one comment about the physical and sexual abuse that she claims to have endured during her relationship with Alexander. No, he wasn't, and I said this at the beginning, he wasn't a perfect man. Like, he got into some pretty bad stuff with his computer and stuff that he downloaded, and honestly should have been arrested. But, her friends said stuff about, physical violence, but his friends never did. They're like, no, he was like... That's also something that, the Mormon church is very much against, and he was, hardcore Mormon. So, if he was hardcore Mormon, why would he be beating up a woman he's not married to? I mean, even if they were married, it'd still be unacceptable by the Mormon Church's standards.
It's not about Snow White. It's not even about any of the 7 dwarfs. It's not about bad haircuts, and it's not about the sexual orientation of any of the witnesses.
Judge, are you passed on evidence?
It's not even about...
I was watching that and I didn't really understand what he meant by that, and so I went and I looked it up. One of the claims, I guess, that they were trying to make was that she had a female partner, and that's why there was no reason for her to be jealous, because she was in a committed relationship, well, committed with a, side booty call, I don't know, relationship, so that's what that comment was about, because I guess they brought her in.
Whether or not you like Jodi Arias. 9 days out of 10, I don't like Jodi Arias.
Objection.
But that...
Argue his belief.
Sustained.
Okay, I'm gonna say that whole thing again. Is it allowed for the defense to say that they don't like their client? Like, I guess it's allowed because, like, the judge overruled the objection. But is it smart to just flat out be like, yeah, I don't like my client either. But that's not what this is about. It's not about if you like my client. It's not about if you like the defendant. It's about what happened between this and this time. I don't know. It could be smart, but I'm not a defense attorney, so.
Yes. Is directed to disregard the last statement.
But that doesn't matter.
I was wrong, actually. She told them to disregard his statement that he didn't like her either, so I guess that judge did not like that. I wonder if that's, like, court-wide or if that was just, like, her personal opinion.
Your liking her or not liking her does not objectively assess the evidence. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not even about her sitting before the cameras of Inside Edition and saying that no jury will convict her. It's not about that. It's about the evidence. What happened? What happened between what we see in Exhibit 159 and what we see in Exhibit 162? Well, I guess there's one more thing this case isn't about. Remember we heard that charge of felony murder yesterday and the state making an argument that was incomprehensible? This idea that, well, if you believe Jodi's version of events, she's guilty of felony murder because she went to Travis's home and she decided to steal his gun. And in the course of trying to steal his gun, but let's face the facts here, that 233.97 that you see up there, that was charged when she returned the car. Airfare and car rentals are different. Under these times, we know that when we purchase airfare, you have your common experience. You've rented a car or purchased airfare. You realize that, well, you do that. When you buy a plane ticket, you have to give all your identifying information and you pay for it. When you rent a car, oftentimes you reserve a car and pay for it when you're done. You put a deposit down on the credit card, you pay for it when it's done. That's when she paid for it. Now the state has tried to argue that that's a lie. That Miss Arias is lying. She didn't use Priceline. Those people at Priceline aren't getting their money, right? And this is certainly one thing the state has done as it relates to lies. Jodi Arias has made some lies about what happened. So then, why not just pile on? Set up a house of cards And in a scenario where they say Jodi's lying and knock it down. But here's the thing, she wasn't lying. There's no evidence that she was lying. We don't know what kind of arrangement Budget and Priceline has. Mr. Colombo, he didn't tell you what kind of arrangement they have. He didn't know. So she rents this car. And Mr. Colombo...
So I guess he has a similar argument that the defense attorney in the Chandler Halderson case had. Yes, she's a liar, but we're not talking about whether or not she's a liar. We're talking about this isolated incident. And I understand why they're doing that, but my response to that is, yes, we are talking about that isolated incident, but we're also talking about her character, which is brought under evaluation when we're discussing that isolated incident that is truly the focus of why I'm here. So you have to bring in their character, you have to bring in their background, you have to bring in their, their faith, their standpoints, their viewpoints on all these things, because it all goes to character. And if you can destroy somebody's character on stand, then you're doing your job right as a prosecutor. Because your goal is for them not to believe a word that they're saying. And for Jodi, it was pretty easy because she's a liar. Same thing for Chandler Halderson. So, he's doing his job very well, Juan Martinez is. And, this defense attorney is doing a good job as well. And I can guarantee you that he... went home and he was like, you know what? I knew she was guilty. I didn't want to be doing that case at all. I knew it because you can tell when it comes to closing arguments like this, when they actually have a case for why their client is innocent or claiming self-defense, and you have proof for it, and you know that in your closing statement. And when you don't believe that, or if you don't have that evidence. Chandler Halderson's defense attorneys were the exact same way. They didn't have evidence to prove that, he hadn't done it or anything like that, or anything to prove, or anything to try and get him a lesser sentence. So their argument was, oh, well, he's been honest. Same thing for the Gross case. Oh, well, she, admitted to this part. She admitted to killing her baby. So, we should show her grace and give her a lesser sentence because she was so straightforward and honest.
That might surprise some people.
Well, I think that if you look at things eternally, it's not as scary. We do get it.
Dude, you're going to hell. How is that not scarier than dealing with your life sentence?
Attached to our lives, and I'm attached to mine. But, I don't know, I can't fathom staying in one spot for the rest of my life. So I've been everywhere. And, I think it would just drive me a little crazy.
You, had some clashes with Juan Martinez. You kind of went after him on Twitter a little bit. What are your thoughts on Juan?
Well, prior to trial, I respected Juan as a very capable attorney, even though he's done some very shady things in my case, as far as hiding evidence and failing to disclose certain things, hoping it would just go away. But in the end, what does it matter? It didn't help my case. As far as all the evidence that did come to light eventually. In trial, I think that his accusation that I was seeking fame is absurd. I remember a hearing we had in 2011 when he stood up before the court and said, I don't control the media. If it were up to me, I'd be on TV every night. So I think he's the one seeking fame, not me. But, it is what it is.
She's just, man. Yes, focusing on things like eternally does make you feel better, especially as a Christian, knowing that God has a place for me up in heaven. Like, very comforting. 100%. But to hear it from her, and she's such a hypocrite. She is, and she's from the Mormon church. And, you know, I'm praying for her. I hope that God redeems her. But, like, when you use scripture to justify killing somebody, it's just, it rubs me the wrong way.
Say you do get a long sentence. How are you going to spend your life?
I haven't decided yet.
Talk to me again, if you can, briefly, about wanting to hurt yourself. Do you feel like you want to hurt yourself right now?
Not right now. I think I've gone in and out of periods of that since 2007. There was some talk about me being suicidal in high school. I never was. I think I might have written the words something along the lines of wanting to die, but that's distinctly different from wanting to actually kill myself. So I never was. I found it strange at the time that after I had gotten into the church and I gained a testimony of the church, suddenly I'm feeling suicidal. I didn't understand that.
It's 'cause you were in a cult, woman. Like, brainwashing her.
But I never did anything, so it could just be talk. It could just be purging my thoughts, that kind of thing.
You're tweeting. Talking about Twitter. Is that your idea?
Initially, I've never been on Twitter. I don't even know what it looks like. I just have heard about it through other people reading about it in magazines. In 2009, somebody started a false Twitter account in my name and began tweeting, pretending they were me. So I had that shut down. And then it just became sort of an idea that I thought of in February, and we decided to go for it.
Are you happy you have?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say happy. I don't regret it.
Right.
Yeah.
What has it brought to you?
I think there's a little bit of satisfaction gained from being able to just impart my ideas and my thoughts.
You seem to be writing quite a bit during testimony. Or were you drawing? What were you doing?
I was writing just thoughts. When I heard something with testimony, I would write notes, pass it to Jennifer, pass it to Kirk, things like that, just to keep them informed.
So you weren't drawing?
There might be occasional little scribbles in the margins, but no drawing.
At that point. Anything else you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. Well, actually, there is one more thing.
Yes.
I wanted to say, if I could tell somebody in a situation that I was in anything, I just would encourage them to document it. I think that it doesn't mean they have to turn the person in or be
strong Amber Heard vibes here. I would just encourage anybody in my situation to document it, because what it's seeming like is that if you don't document it, it didn't happen. And a lot of people were like, oh, like they said the exact same thing that people were saying about the Amber Heard death trial recently, that, you know, women took a hit after this verdict because, you know, she is claiming domestic violence. And she was not believed. She did not have evidence of it. And either way, she killed him. Like, either way, she would have been convicted of murder. I don't know. Maybe it would have fallen under self-defense guidelines if she actually had proof, which is, I guess, what her attorneys were trying to go for. But still.
Should a situation ever arise, I think documentation would have been very helpful in my case. And my sister is going through something right now with her ex-husband, And there are a lot of things that she could have documented that would help her. So it surprises me that even as she knows about what I've gone through, she still fails to document these things. And it's so easy. Save these text messages, save these incidents, write these things down, make reports. But they don't. People just don't do that. I don't know why women don't do that. I mean, some do. No, it's not black and white, it's not 100%, but if we could just make a record, then that record will stand should something happen down the line. Well, I don't know that I have a direct message for the jury. I know that I prayed constantly for every single one of them, so that's the jury that was brought to me. That's the jury that I was meant to have.
So you prayed for the jury?
I prayed prior to trial that the right jurors would be on my jury. So I just have to believe that those were the right jurors.
And the last question I have is going back to when you were on the stand and Juan Martinez was cross-examining you. It was really tense. It felt like you were giving back as much as he was giving. What was going through your mind? What really did you want to say had there been no constraints on what to say at that point?
I would have said a lot more.
You want to say it now?
Well, I can't. I would have to think back to a specific incident.
Well, you told him he was scrambling your brain because he was yelling at you.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
What were you thinking when he was yelling at you?
I probably shouldn't say. There were a lot of times when he was beating up on other witnesses, more like attacking the messenger rather than the message. And I just wanted to be able to jump into their body and respond for them. Just because I feel like he is a bully.
Don't get me wrong, he is a very aggressive prosecutor, but also the attorneys had the opportunity to prep the witnesses, and like, he was very well known in Phoenix, so the people coming in and Jodi should have been prepared for how he was. And it's no fun having somebody be super aggressive and yell in your face. And I can imagine that it's incredibly stressful being on a witness stand and being like, oh, I have to remember everything and be truthful. And I'm sure it scrambled her brain. But, I mean, it's an assumption on my part that the defense attorneys did their job or didn't do their job in preparing her for Juan Martinez. Because even in the interrogation, we saw that the cop knew who he was. The cop was like, I know the prosecutor. You don't want to have him writing this story for you. You need to come out and tell the full truth and give us the story. Because if Juan Martinez does it, it's not going to be good for you. You're not going to be able to get out of this. He's a phenomenal prosecutor. So she had plenty of warning to get it together and to be able to say whatever that she wanted to say on that stand and be completely honest. And she chose to fabricate lie after lie after lie. The gangsters coming in, her, being held at gunpoint, all this stuff. She had every opportunity to just come clean. And she didn't. And she got life in prison for it, which makes me very happy. It means justice was served in this case. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joined and is watching tonight. Stay tuned for more videos. Next week we will be doing the Michelle Carter case. That's an interesting one. Will be up Saturday or Sunday, an edited version. So if you want to tune in for that one, you're more than welcome to. Don't forget to leave a like and share and subscribe. Thank you everybody for joining.
Oh, I've been running from the law.